First off, a super quick recap of Episode 5, On the Rocks, because it sets up everything for Episode 6. Dwight Manfredi and his crew are finally launching their Montague Distillery with that recovered, 50-year-old bourbon called the 50. The party's buzzing. Bodhi and Grace nailed the PR, Bigfoot's showing off his ice sculpting skills, earning him the nickname Yeti, and even Margaret's there with Cal Thresher in tow. But of course, nothing goes smooth in Tulsa. Jeremiah Dunmeyer pulls a total power move by leaning on the Attorney General to send a corrupt inspector to shut things down. The inspector gets squished under falling barrels in a freak accident, thanks to Bigfoot's clumsiness, and now the crew's got a body to deal with. Dwight tells them to stage it as an accident for Bodhi to discover in the morning. Meanwhile, Dwight's secretly picking up a bomb from the watchmaker, aka Deacon, the explosives expert, to hit back at Jeremiah for burning down his wind farm earlier in the season. Then, the party crashes hard when Jeremiah shows up with his posse, the AG, and some sheriffs. They destroy a barrel of the precious bourbon, brag about ruining Dwight's rep, and walk out like they own the place. Tensions peak when Bill Bevilacqua confronts Dwight about shady dealings and suspicions of betrayal. Dwight pulls a gun on him, but Bill calls his bluff and leaves, only to get swarmed and arrested by federal agents at a stoplight. Boom, episode ends on that cliffhanger. On screen, key images or text bullets of recap points. Now, what can we expect in episode 6? Based on official previews, trailers, and how the story's building, it's gonna be a turning point with escalating wars on multiple fronts. Let's break it down. Number 1, Bill Bevilacqua's arrest. This is huge. Episode 6 picks up right from that Fed ambush. Dwight's gonna be scrambling to figure out who's behind it. Is it Agent Musso and the Feds turning the screws? Jeremiah using his political pull? Or maybe Quiet Ray from New York, who's been pressuring Bill to flip on Dwight? Expect Dwight to interrogate his inner circle, reassess loyalties, and maybe even make a risky move to bail Bill out or silence him if he turns rat. This could spark a full-on war with the Invernizzi family back east. Number 2, the bomb plot against the Dunmeyers. Dwight's got that explosive ready to go, targeted at Jeremiah's home as payback. Previews hint at Deacon's role expanding, maybe we see the setup or even the detonation. But with feds listening in on Dwight's calls, this high-risk op could blow up in his face, pun intended. Jeremiah's not backing down either. After sabotaging the launch, expect him to retaliate harder, maybe using law enforcement to raid Dwight's operations or hit his crew personally. Cole Dunmeyer's already fuming about his dad's dismissal. Could he switch sides or start his own play? Number 3, the dead inspector fallout. That body's not going away quietly. Bodhi discovering it might bring heat from investigators, especially with Jeremiah's connections to the AG. This could tie into the distillery's ruined rep. Joanne was devastated, and Dwight rallied the team to bounce back stronger. Look for the crew to unite, but tensions might crack under the pressure. Plus, Tyson's got his confidence boost from Dwight's pep talk, so he could step up in a big way, proving he's not just being played anymore. Number 4, relationship drama and power shifts. Margaret's juggling Dwight and Cal Thresher's gubernatorial run. Previews suggest more jealousy or alliances there. Thresher bailed from the party to avoid the gangster vibe, but he might get pulled deeper. And don't forget Spencer at the casino. Her chat with Cole hints at budding ties that could complicate family loyalties. Overall, episode 6 is shaping up to be packed with betrayals, shocking twists, and those classic Tulsa King confrontations. Alliances might form or shatter, leading into the back half of the season with even bigger enemies. If the trailers are any indication, we're in for explosive action and some game-changing reveals. Could Dwight finally take down Jeremiah, or will the feds close in first? Tack. Let's break it down scene by scene, no holding back. Spoiler alert, this EP's all about loyalty tests, a brutal ambush, and Dwight facing his past in the most OG way possible. The episode builds to Dwight cornered in an abandoned oil rig, Jeremiah and Cole closing in, Musso's feds circling like vultures. Dwight's bleeding out, flashing back to his prison days with Pops, the OG reference. He calls in a favor from an unlikely ally, Bill Brewer, who hates Jeremiah more. Boom, a hail of gunfire from Brewer's boys turns the tide. But the real gut punch? Tina walks in on Dwight mid-deal, gun in hand, and whispers, "It's over." Does she pull the trigger? Trailer cuts to black on her finger trembling. She doesn't shoot, it's a fake-out to force Dwight legit. But Cole escapes, setting up episode 4's manhunt. This ending screams, family first, forcing the general to evolve or die. Jeremiah made it clear in the premiere that he was going to be an obstacle, burning down Theo's country manse, with him in it, as revenge for selling his distillery to Dwight. And in the true manner of someone used to having things their way, Jeremiah isn't subtle about who was to blame. His goons brag about it in public. He and Cole show up at Theo's funeral. The whole thing's a theatrical message to Dwight, a way to compel him to take the money, 3 times what he paid, that Jeremiah is offering for the distillery. But Dwight doesn't take kindly to threats, and he's no fool either. If Jeremiah is offering that much for a distillery that hasn't turned a profit in years, there has to be a reason. The clue's in the title, The 50. Cleo reveals that Theo was sitting on a batch of 5-decade-old vintage bourbon that can fill 250 bottles at thousands of dollars a pop. Jeremiah knew it existed, but not where. It's the profit payload that Dwight needs to justify the risks associated with the booze business, and it's a compelling enough fortune to sway Bill to get in on the action to help with distribution. Even Cal Thresher, now a gubernatorial candidate, is reluctantly in Dwight's pocket, there to smooth over any complications with a few political favors should the need arise. That it feels like a win, but is it really? Tulsa King Season 3, Episode 2 reintroduces all of these key players but makes it very clear that they can't be relied upon. Bill is still on conspiratorial terms with Vince back in New York, whose takeover of the Invernizzi family seems to have backfired, and Cal would just as soon have Dwight killed as work with him. And everyone seems to know that Jeremiah means business. He's a credible threat, and he has no shortage of targets he can lean on to hurt Dwight. He sends Cole and some goons after Mitch, and while that ambush backfires, it proves he's willing to take action. Cole also seems to target Spencer at the end of the episode, who may prove a weak link. Then there's Bodie, whose lust for revenge is preventing him from making peace with Bill's men, and Tyson's father, Mark, whose reluctant agreement to fix the distillery's pipes might count as collusion as far as someone like Jeremiah is concerned. What I'm curious about, at least for now, is how all these major players and conflicting allegiances can all fit together into a coherent season. The only real downside of The 50 is that it all unfolds at such a clip that it can feel as if individual moments don't have much space to breathe. This is fine when it comes to, say, Tyson's relationship with Mark, since that has been ebbing and flowing since the very first season, but Mitch and Cleo, by comparison, feels a bit more forced. There's also a subplot involving Goody trying, hilariously, it must be said, to track down Armand, but one has to wonder whether we need yet another angle to be concerned about. Time will tell. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say that several main characters probably won't survive this season, and it wouldn't surprise me if at least one was killed off sooner rather than later to really set the stakes. Theo's death was tragic, but we just met him. If Jeremiah's whole thing is hitting close to home, everyone in Dwight's inner circle should be worried, and the vibe this season is giving off thus far is that it won't be pulling any punches. Flashback montage shows Mitch's subtle leaks to Dunmire for a cut of the action, driven by resentment over Jimmy's death and feeling sidelined. Dunmire monologues about old money versus your street scraps, then signals Russell to rough up Dwight. Dwight fights back ferociously, flips a table, cracks a bottle over a goon's head, but gets outnumbered. He escapes barely, bloodied, stealing a ledger proving Mitch's betrayal. Back at HQ, confrontation time, Mitch confesses, tearful, "You promised us the world, Dwight." Dunmire offered security. Dwight doesn't kill him, yet, cold mercy, "You're out. But if you breathe a word." Cue Mitch's exile, staring at the crew like a ghost.